So I'm sure by now, unless you're completely not following what's going on in the NBA, that the Brooklyn Nets were eliminated in last night's game in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Semis to the Milwaukee Bucks, which I'll admit I was pretty shocked by. I mean, after the James Harden trade that sent him to the Nets earlier in the year, I thought there was no way that they wouldn't at least make it out of the East at a minimum and likely win the championship, because even if all three of Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving weren't healthy, if you had at least two of them, they're still a very deadly team. And of course, I know the players, they ran into injuries really all season, but even in this series alone, which likely set them back a bit, and if they were otherwise healthy, they probably would have advanced. But all of that being said, what I want to talk about in this video is what is next for Kevin Durant specifically. And really, I'm focusing on him, one, because he's older on the back end of his career, and because KD, unlike other superstars, has actually made positive comments of the Chicago Bulls in the past as it relates to their decision making to make a trade for Vucevic. And of course, you have some Bulls fans getting excited by the fact that the Nets fell early in the playoffs. Maybe that there is a chance that Kevin Durant requests to be traded, which, let me add before you rational basketball fans click to the next video right away, that I believe there is no chance that is ever going to happen. But let's get into it in more detail. So what's going on, everyone? You were listening to Bull Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Guys, last night Bucks versus Nets game was probably one of the most exciting playoff matches that we have seen so far this season, in a really back and forth battle up until the end, with the game going into overtime, and literally the game could have gone the other way in favor of the Nets if only Kevin Durant had just stepped back about another inch or so and hit that final shot in regulation that would have given the Nets a 1-point lead with a 3-point shot, which there was only 1 second left to go. Instead, it was ruled a 2 and the game went into overtime. And normally you think when a home team in a Game 7 matchup, after sending it to overtime, when the game looked all but over for the Bucks, you would think that they would have the momentum to close it out. But no, the opposite happened, and the Nets, who were completely gassed, could not finish off the Bucks, and they lose on their own home court, getting eliminated from advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, personally, I was happy to see this happen for the Bucks. I really did feel like Giannis deserved to make it out of the East this year, which still remains to be seen. And when the Nets super team was created after that trade for Harden, it was almost like a slap to the face that yet again the Bucks would not be able to get out of the East. And of course, when they ran into them in the second round without home court advantage, I figured it was all but over for them yet again. But they actually played well in a hard-fought series, and I know most people will say, well, the Nets weren't healthy, that they still have one of their best players in the league in Kevin Durant and James Harden for the most part. I know that he was out for a little bit of the series, but he was there. There was still a good team, and they had home court advantage, and they were playing at home in a Game 7. But the series aside, like I said, I wanted to talk about Kevin Durant. So if you've been watching this channel, you're most likely a Bulls fan, and if you're not, that's okay too. But for Bulls fans, our ears perked up a couple months ago, shortly after the trade deadline, when Kevin Durant said this on a podcast with some of his friends.
Which is nice too, like you said, Vooch is nice. You think that's a good pairing to kind of get a foundation set up with?
Yeah. What you think?
Zach is as pretty as Kyrie's game is. Zach is kind of like that.
Yes,
his game
man.
is that version of the 6'8" guy. His game is ridiculous.
Bro, when you got guys like them three, because them two, I'm sorry. I mean, shit, I want to throw Kobe White in there too.
Kobe is nice.
Because I feel like he a part of their future. He going to be the guy. That's the point. And you got three guys that can get it from 3 levels on the court. I don't give a fuck. What else you got? You got something with that. That 2 all-stars at that. Another guy who a wild card right now, but can go off crazy and get you 30, any given night. When you got that on your team, that's a great start.
Now, I actually made a video about what Kevin Durant said here and how it really means nothing as far as any cryptic message that, he's looking to come to Chicago or that he would even be interested in coming to the Bulls. Really, the only thing that it means is a superstar in the NBA was actually showing interest in the Bulls and showing them some respect for what they were doing and the talent that they had on their roster, which is a good thing, don't get me wrong, because it shows that if Kevin Durant is taking notice, then who knows, some other players might start taking notice as well. And maybe, just maybe, the Bulls can slowly but surely become a more attractive destination for some other top players in the league. So I know some fans got really excited about these comments and started reading into them and analyzing what it means. It doesn't mean anything, guys. Kevin Durant isn't coming to Chicago. Now, normally I would have just left it at that when this came out during the season, but of course, after last night, this statement from Kevin Durant started to be revisited by Bulls fans on Twitter. Now, as I mentioned, Kevin Durant isn't coming to the Bulls, not now or when his contract expires, but all of these comments did get me thinking, well, what is the future of Kevin Durant? And really, is the super team Nets going to be able to work if they decide to run it back next season? Now, the thing that you have to understand is that Kevin Durant is going to be 33 this summer, which isn't that old. I mean, LeBron is going to be 37 next season, and he's still playing at a very high level, although slightly declining now due to injuries. Kevin Durant is also under contract through next season, and he'll have a player option for the 22-23 season, so he could potentially become a free agent next year if he declines his player option, similar to Kawhi Leonard's situation this season. Now, let me just say first and foremost, the Nets are not going to trade Kevin Durant or try to blow up this team because they lost in the second round. Like, that would be the dumbest thing they could possibly do and be such a reactionary decision after having this new super team together for all but one season. They're going to run it back with probably some minor adjustments, I'm sure, and if they can make a run at a title with all of these guys having a full offseason working together, and hopefully, but it's a big if the team can stay healthy. And not only are the Nets going to look to not trade Kevin Durant, but also Kevin Durant is not going to demand a trade after this failed season. Like, I get that a lot of people were saying this is a championship or bust year for the Nets, but come on now. Kevin Durant is not going to want out of an organization that they built around him with all-stars. Although I say that, and we have to remember that he did leave Golden State, one of the greatest dynasties the league has ever seen, so who knows with this guy anymore. But either way, though, Kevin Durant will be on the Nets next season, and for the whole season. There's no doubt in my mind about that. That being said, though, what does make Kevin Durant's future interesting is going into next summer when he has a player option on the final year of his deal, which is a pretty hefty sum of $42.7 million. Now, a lot of what, happens depends on him exercising that option is how the Nets actually perform next year. If they win a championship or even make it to the finals, then I would say he picks up his option and sticks around for one more season, either to repeat or to try to come back after having lost in the finals. But honestly, if it's anything short of the NBA Finals, or especially if the Nets bomb in the playoffs and they actually stay, relatively healthy throughout this season, I could see him declining that player option and looking for a, one more hop to another team to finish off his career, since by then he'll be 35 going into the 22-23 season and looking to get his last big contract. Again, assuming Kevin Durant is still a productive player by then. Or it's possible that even if the Nets do well and he still keeps balling out, he may decline that player option anyway and look to get an even longer term extension, similar to what people are expecting Chris Paul to do with his option this summer. But should the Nets super team experiment just not work out and they underperform next season and fail to meet expectations, where does that leave Kevin Durant, a guy who is very obsessed with his legacy and cares more about what people think of him than any other superstar, going into his 14th season in the league? Where does that leave him? Of course, so many things can happen between now and then by the 22-23 season in terms of other moves and acquisitions that are going to be made throughout the league, or whether Harden and Kyrie actually remain on the team into that season. But I would have to think that for someone like Kevin Durant, who clearly wants to win at least one more ring and show that he is the top dog on a team to actually win it, since I guess clearly he didn't feel like he proved to the league that those first 2 rings were earned by the move that he made going to the Warriors from the get-go. And if it's starting to become clear this Nets team doesn't have what it takes to get there, yeah, he's likely going to be bound for another destination, probably another contending team. Now, I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility, but it's an incredibly small chance. But if somehow the Bulls have shown themselves to be a strong and capable team and makes a huge leap for this upcoming season, that they can start turning some heads, and Kevin Durant realizes, hey, they could be one piece away from winning a title, a piece like a superstar in Kevin Durant. But guys, even as I'm really saying that out loud, It's not going to happen, and to be honest, I don't even know if I fully would want it to happen, which I know sounds crazy because it's freaking Kevin Durant. He's one of the best players in the league. I think part of it is because I've just never really liked him as a player ever since leaving Oklahoma City anyway. The other thing is, you're talking about bringing in a guy who is going to be 35, has had issues with injuries, and you're going to have to give him a fat max contract because it's Kevin Durant. He's going to command that kind of money. It's the same reason why I would be hesitant to sign Chris Paul to a long-term deal that late in his career. You don't want to lock yourself up on a bad contract and set the future back of your franchise. I mean, yes, if the opportunity presented itself, or if it in fact happened, like, yeah, I'm still going to take that chance, even for a 35-year-old Kevin Durant, because it's Kevin Durant, and his name alone puts the Bulls back on the map of being relevant again as a franchise that draws attention and attraction from other players around the league. So I say all of that, but let's be real, I would still do this. But again, even if the Nets bomb next season, Kevin Durant gets frustrated, declines his player options, and looks to go elsewhere, he's not coming to Chicago. He just isn't. Likely going to be going to a bigger market contending team, maybe to one of the LA teams, maybe the Heat, maybe even Boston, depending on what they look like by then. Hell, maybe even the Wizards if they can get their act together, since Kevin Durant is from DC. Who knows, but him ever putting on a Bulls jersey is incredibly unlikely, and really the Bulls should be focusing on more realistic opportunities anyway. I want to know what you guys think though. Thoughts on this series between the Nets and the Bucks. What do you guys think about Kevin Durant's future as he starts winding down his career? Let me know in the comments, and always be sure to subscribe as I upload daily Bulls and NBA related content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, as always, and I will catch you in the next one.